Hello, welcome
Hello.
to Rough Realities and Revelation.
Another episode of the podcast.
Like another one. I wonder when we'll get bored of saying another. Maybe it'll change from another one to another one. We're doing another one.
Another episode.
Yeah. How are you today?
I'm actually all right today.
Yeah, you had a good day.
Yeah, I've had a good day.
Oh, that's good. That means two of us.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a good day as well. I was, you know, how rescue dogs are like my soft spot.
Yeah.
So I spent the day working with the staff at our local rescue. I'll just stop going there because the staff are they're just so amazing with the dogs.
Yeah.
And it's not always, it's never easy. It's not always easy. Just never easy working in rescue, if I'm honest with you. Really emotionally taxing. The staff honestly just go above and beyond. They're just fantastic. So I always love going there.
Do you not want to just bring all the dogs home though?
No, not all the time. Not all. I mean, there is a reason I have 7 dogs. Very little willpower.
Not all of them. You can tell me about that one you're not bringing home later.
Yeah.
Not him.
But yeah, certainly, you know, it's difficult actually because there's so many of them that I'm just like, I just see so much potential in them all and everything like that. And it got me thinking that whenever these dogs go to their new homes, you're going to have to work on trust. And I think this is one of the most difficult things to work on when you welcome a new dog into your home, whether this is a puppy or whether this is a dog that you've adopted or, you know, it's slightly older, whatever. You bring a new being into your family, you're going to have to create trust.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that's massively overlooked.
Yeah.
And I think it's difficult because it's hard to quantify what is trust because it's not a behaviour. It's not something you teach. And I suppose everybody has a different idea of trust.
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is trust is where you feel safe and comfortable with that person.
Yeah.
You know how that person's going to react and things. You know that person tends to react in exactly the same way all the time. They're reliably consistent, I suppose, is the way of saying it. And I think the main one is you actually feel safe with them.
Definitely.
I walk alone. I think that is actually a big one.
I think a lot of time, especially with rescue dogs, and maybe especially with the more fearful, like foreign rescue dogs and stuff like that, the focus is on keeping them physically safe.
Yeah.
But that's not the same as keeping them feeling safe.
No, it's not. It's not the same thing at all. It's not the same thing. So I suppose to clarify, yes, we're talking about emotionally safe. But when it comes to trust, that is emotionally safe. And I think certainly what I've found over the years working with people and their dogs, I think the most awkward conversations I have to have is when I have to explain to somebody, your dog does not trust you, because that feels like I am putting a knife in the heart.
Yeah.
And you're twisting it, because I think people think liking and loving somebody and trust automatically go hand in hand, and they just don't.
Yeah.
I have. So my childhood friend, I mean, she's still my friend, but we've like known her from childhood. I absolutely love her to pieces, you know, so I like her and I love her, and she's, you know, a very important person to me. Do I trust her? No, I do not. Throughout our history together, she has done nothing but play pranks on me, and everything's been fun. She's never done anything malicious, but she's done things like, just to give you an idea of how gullible I really am. When we were younger, one of the first times going to the cinema, I was always a popcorn person at the cinema. I would always just get popcorn.
Sweet or salty?
Actually, do you know what? You hate me, but I like a bit of both.
No.
I do. I like them mixed together. No, I like it mixed together because you don't know what you're going to get for the prize.
Tell me that being consistent is important, and it's eating the popcorn in dinner. No. No, then I didn't get it.
My pet was a natural. I still lost nachos.
Right.
I really had nachos by this point. I was very young. I'm going to point this out. I have educated myself since before anyone listening to this is thinking, oh, Becky, what kind of life have you led? This is when we were younger. And so she's got her nachos, and I can see these green things on her nachos.
Right.
You know, where this is going on. And even by this age, I already have found out I cannot deal with spicy food. I cannot deal with anything that has a little bit of heat in it. My friend knows this. As I'm looking, I was like, oh, what have you got on your nachos? Because it was obviously the cheese sauce, there was bits of salsa, and the green things. So I was like, what's the green things? She knows I'm a bit gullible, and she knows at that point, and had much about life. And so she's answered to me, they are gherkins, right? When in fact, they are jalapenos. And I can't handle jalapenos.
No.
So she has just straight out went, gherkins. And I'm thinking, you're my friend. You'd never do anything to lead to any form of discomfort with me. But I went, all right, sort of look like gherkins. So I was like, can I try? I haven't tried. So needless to say, I've taken a nacho with everything on it, including a gherkin with a seed on it. Right? She said, yep, she's let me pick up that one. She's been captivated watching me put it in my mouth. You don't know my mouth all of like 3 seconds. My eyes have gone wide because I'm like, the heat from that jalapeno. She knew what was coming because she slapped my drink in my hands as big as in it. A big slurp. And I was just like, that was not a gherkin. She's killing herself thinking that this is the funniest thing in the world. But these are the type of things she would do throughout her childhood, growing up and, going into her teenage years and everything. So this is why I'm saying you can like and love somebody, but you don't have to trust them. They don't go hand in hand. Yeah. And I think it's very important to understand that. And if somebody points out to you, your dog doesn't trust you, then don't be too hurt by it, and don't, get defensive with the person and switch off and everything like that, because the dog can still love you.
Yeah.
But they're just not going to trust what happens in certain situations with you and things. And I think it's, so when you first bring a dog home, I think the most important stuff to be doing is building that trust.
Mm-hmm. So what does your dog trusting you look like, and why would it be problematic if they didn't trust you? But here's the thing, right? So my little Chihuahua Dodger, so I had her for 10 years, from when she was about 7 until she was just about to turn 17. I don't doubt that she loved me, she took comfort from me, but if something really scary happened, she would go to the other dogs.
Yeah.
And not to me.
Oh, that's
like she would choose comfort from Patch and Lily over comfort from me. She obviously felt that was, there's levels of safety, and that was like,
you weren't in that level. I was never an option. It was like, I'll take the first, then I'll go to the 2-legged thing.
But I don't think that affected our relationship. So tell me what trust looks like and why it would be problematic if our dogs didn't trust us.
So for trust, the things I look at, I would be thinking, just as you're saying that, I'm not, it's going to sound bad now. For me, it would be the dog seeking me out when they felt uncomfortable and they felt unsafe. If they were scared of something, whether it was a noise or maybe a scary object, like I think back to Finn. So Finn's the youngest in my gang, Border Collie. He came from Said Rescue. I was helping out in things for my sins, so you see how weak I am, that, I still say yes to dogs. And he was just overwhelmed with life when we first got him. And he would be really freaked out by logs out of context, I suppose would be the better way to say it.
Right.
So if we were in a field, for example, and there was part of a tree, like a big log or a branch or whatever, the field, not next to the other trees, holy moly, that was when I got him. That was out to get him, and he wouldn't walk past it. He was very scared. It was just like that. This is terrible. And I remember being with a trainer friend, and we were out for a walk with him, but Finn, that is, in the trainer. And we were just walking and chatting, and of course we came across an out of context log / branch. And Finn just stopped dead, and he was like, what? I'm not going near that. But he retreated to me, and he was looking up at me, and he was like, what are we doing about this? He's asking for my support to say, what are we doing about this? And normally, if in the early stages, things, building a relationship and that, I would have given Finn more distance. I would have walked further away from the scary log and allowed him more time to approach. But because I'd had him a few months, I felt that we'd built up quite a bit of trust within this time. So, excuse me, I started walking towards it. And, I made the lead as long as possible. I wasn't dragging him, but I was walking towards it and I was saying to him, excuse me, I was saying to him that, are we going to go and beat this up? But I said, are we going to get it? And I was kind of making it a bit of a game. And I was like, come on, let's go get it. And because he trusted me, he walked with me.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, well, you touch it first. Go and you touch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would touch it. Well, I slapped it. I was like, yeah, beat you up like that. And he was like, you touched it and you didn't die. Well, that's not right then. And literally within about 15 seconds, he's sniffing it. He put his paws on it. He was like, oh, it's not the end of the world. It's just a log that I see in the woods with other trees. Had we not had any trust, he wouldn't have followed me. He wouldn't have came with me at all willingly. I would have been dragging him towards it. So that's kind of a slight example of trust.
Yeah.
It would also be allowing me to do things that the dog is a bit uncomfortable with and a bit worried. Not that I would intentionally do that, but there's sometimes things in life that you have to do, like you've got a bunch of burrs stuck in the fur and you've got to work it out. And if the dog's not comfortable with being groomed and handled at that point, sadly, we've still got to get it done because it's going to make the coat worse and all this type of thing. So if the dog will allow you to do that process, it might be standing or sitting there going, hurry up, I hate it, hurry up, I hate it. But they're at least letting you do it. They're not trying to bite you. They're not trying to run away. They're going, right, I need your help to do this. I'm not happy about it, but you just do it as quick as possible and then it'll be over.
Yeah.
It's that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Where they let you do things like that. I think that is a sign that the dog trusts you and stuff. Do you know what? The dog wants to spend time with you.
Mm-hmm.
So they might have the whole option on a walk of just disappearing and doing dog things, but actually they want to hang about you.
Mm-hmm.
That's more than just liking and loving.
Yeah.
That dog wants to spend time with you.
It's choosing you. Yeah.
So I think it's things like that that show trust.
Yeah.
But it's really difficult to gain, but it's also really easy to lose.
Right.
Trust, I find.
Yeah. So before we go into that, why would it be problematic to not have trust?
Oh, I forgot me. Extra.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm too busy. I love creating trust.
Yeah.
And so a dog that doesn't trust you, oh, holy moly, there's loads of things that.
I mean, obviously, I'm thinking your recall and stuff is going to affect things like that.
Yeah. You're going to have a dog, quite frankly, a dog who's a bite risk.
Yeah.
Because when you're scared, you're going to lash out.
So as part of that, then, that they don't trust you to make a good decision and they're going to have to make the decision themselves.
Yep.
Right.
So sometimes I think when people say, I'm trying to word this to be gentle in case anyone listening thinks, no, that's me and my dog doesn't trust me. And, this is more about what things can be, so you shouldn't beat yourself up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But when people say to me, oh, my dog's really reactive if dogs come up to me and they're guarding me and protecting me, I personally think that's only true in a small set of cases where the dog does get the green-eyed monster and is like, don't you dare talk to another dog. I'm your golden dog. It's all about me. For me, there's just a small portion of dogs that's genuinely motivated by, it's all about me. Yeah. Don't you dare talk to another dog.
Yeah. I think Alma was a bit like that.
Yeah, Alma was then. Alma was proper. It's me. And that generally will happen when only will happen where the owner talks to the other dog, goes to pet the other dog, goes to give the other dog treat. That's when you might see your dog coming in, barking and shouting, or maybe even physically grabbing the other dog and being super aggressive.
Yeah.
That tends to be more a proper guarding, everything type of thing.
Yeah.
But when they're saying, oh, it's dogs that approach us and mine's is shooing them off and barking and lunging at them and things, 9 times out of 10, or 8 times out of 10 we'll say, that's probably
more scientific, this podcast.
What really had been 7 times out of 10, whatever. That's the dog going, you're an idiot. You're going to let that dog come up. I am not comfortable with dogs coming up.
Yeah.
You're stupid. I'm just going to deal with this by myself.
So that's back to you not keeping them feeling safe.
Yeah.
And also not keeping them physically safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the dog is reacting because you're not making a good decision for them.
Yeah.
So the dog, it feels like the minute signals. So my own dogs, if they feel uncomfortable, literally just need to look at me. So if my dogs are looking at something, I'll watch their body language. So I'll watch their tail positions. I'll see if they're already reversing and extracting themselves from a situation. And then if they turn to look at me and they have I would say a more worried expression, I'll be like, you don't like this. I will find a way for us to go out of that situation. So even if this is, I've stopped to talk to somebody and thinking the dogs will be okay interacting and I'm now seeing my dog doesn't like the interaction with this other dog, I'll be like, I doesn't like it, I'm just going to walk away. Now, I don't have to tell the owner that. I don't have to go, your dog's making my dog feel uncomfortable, so I'm just going to walk away. Nobody needs to hear that. I'll just say to him, I didn't know that was the time. I'm going to have to go. I'll catch you later. And off I'll walk.
Yeah.
I'll just go. And then my dog will be like, thanks, human. You read me. You did that situation. I didn't need to growl. I didn't need to snap. I didn't need to bark.
You've got my back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas when we miss those little signals, because, there is an art to reading body language, there's an art to knowing your own dog, you're not getting engrossed in the conversations with other people.
Then we're on our phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. When those things are missed, or whether, quite often I find there's sometimes there's a mismatch when we have a very sociable person who part of the walk is speaking to people, walking with other dog walkers, they want their dog to play with other dogs. That's their idea of how life works. Then you've got a dog who's a bit of the opposite. So a bit like you and me. Really, I'm that one that I'll just go over and talk to them over there and do this thing. All the while, you're eye rolling at me like, I'm not in a conversation with another person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually like that with you.
You are actually like that with me. Yeah. So thankfully you don't bark and growl at the people. But it's that same thing. So I think when you have a mismatch of personalities that way, we can sometimes, I say we as in the sociable people that are talking and wanting that interaction, we are actually just oblivious to the introverts of the world who that isn't their bag.
Yeah.
And we only listen when we start kicking off.
Yeah.
So we can interpret it wrong, but actually what we've done is we're putting the dog in situations it just doesn't want to be in. And then the dog's like, oh my God, you never get this. Like, you never do anything for me.
Yeah.
It's always you. So then, no, they're not going to have any trust in you.
Yeah.
So I think that's watching your dog and accepting, and going back to the whole don't put a square dog in a round hole. I think making sure that you are aware of how is, and especially if we're talking in the very early stages of welcoming a dog to the home, they can change over time.
Yeah.
So they might start off as an introvert, and then as they get trust with you and they find their feet and settle in, they can become a social butterfly. I'm not saying that would be a forever thing.
Yeah.
But if you ended up with an introvert and that was their bag, one way to reduce reactivity is to build trust with your dog and stop putting the dog in a position that it doesn't want to be in.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So,
and thinking about maybe a new rescue dog as well and potentially letting them off the leash for the first time. How important is it to time that with how you're sort of your trust and stuff? I was thinking again about Dodger. Like I say, if something, really spooked her, if something really spooked her, then the other dogs would be her first choice. But, for a while, if I was just out with her and something really spooked her, if she had been off the leash, she would have run away. Yeah. She wouldn't have run to me. No. She would have run away.
Yeah. And I think that part catches people by surprise. I think a lot of people feel that if I've got treats on me, my dog will come back. Yeah. But when you have a fright, you don't think straight. I mean, geez, I know that I have made silly mistakes because I've got in a panic. Yeah. I've, done something that seems so illogical. Like when I've calmed down, I've thought about it, I'm like, I can do that before. Yeah. But it's just as I was panicking and I didn't think. So you're absolutely right. I think I get the fear when I speak to people that have got a rescue dog and within the first week or two, they've got that dog off lead running about, because I think that dog has no relationship with me yet, hasn't built trust, hasn't done anything like that. And you're letting them off and you don't know what will happen if they get a fright. I mean, it's not just a fright, it's if they don't know them well enough to know, do you chase joggers?
Yeah.
Will you chase a deer if you spot a deer?
Yeah.
Do you know, like all of these things. But I think it's very important to certainly use long lines when you're out and about. And what I look for, because I've had quite a few nervous dogs over the years, and I've walked lots and lots of nervous dogs. I'm looking for the moments where they are feeling uneasy or they have had a fright and their choice is to come back to me.
Yeah.
When I start seeing that, then I start thinking, do you know what, this line can go?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know now that actually I've created enough trust that they want to come back to me as a form of safety and like the anchor point. I feel more comfortable that, especially, it's one thing to lose my own dog, and I'll know what happened in that situation, but to tell somebody else whose dog I was in charge of, that would just ends me.
Yeah.
To explain, oh, by the way, I made a mistake and you ran off like that, I would just feel awful about that. So you're right. I think you have to take things, and it varies from dog to dog and situation to situation as to how long trust can happen. That incident with Finn, I probably had probably only about 4 months, but we built good trust, and we did that through me being consistent with my reactions and expectations of things with them. So putting in boundaries, rewarding them for certain behaviours, having I was going to say a strict routine, but that would be a complete lie with me.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do strict routines, but things would be very samey. So
Yeah.
he knew what was coming. It was very predictable as word.
Yeah.
Predictable. And then clearly we use positive reinforcement for training. So I don't shout at him. I don't suddenly yank him around and physically correct him in any way. So he is getting rewarded for behaviours that I like, and I would give him actionable steps to do when he was doing things that I didn't like, stuff like that. So he very much knew where I stood, where he stood with me and stuff like that. So from there, trust is coming quite quickly. And I would watch his body language and I would work out, are you getting scared about this?
Mm-hmm.
Are you finding this very exciting and you're going to unleash the inner collie in you that's, so we can put the collie back in the box for certain situations?
Yeah.
Are we like going over threshold and stuff like that? And I would look at those things as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I am with the kind of behaviour referrals that I get in the grooming salon as well. A lot of the time it's just about going back to basics and building up that trust, being consistent, you know, listening to them, listening to what they're saying. But I suppose the difference there is that I also have to trust the dog as well. It's like a two-way street, like a conversation. And, you know, and if it's a dog that has bitten a groomer previously, then I have to trust them that, you know, if I do everything that they're asking of me and I'm listening to them, that they're not going to bite you.
And I think,
so,
you're right, because I do remember
it's a little dance that we do, isn't it? I mean, when you touch this boot, you don't like, are you going to bite me if I touch this boot? You know,
it's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't miss my grooming days because we're fine, and I think that once you learn to open those doors of communication, you actually find the dogs are less likely to bite you because you're able to communicate without having to shout, really. Like, things for me, I always indicate, so like, if a dog's growling, the dog's just asking you to stop. So a growl tends to be, for me, when we would use our serious voice, where we're not shouting, but we just bit as enough. Like, I've tried to tell you politely, now I'm saying that's enough. But then if the dog's snapping at you, I always think that's where the person's actually starting to shout now and slightly lose control, where they're just like, I've told you before that enough. If you do it again, oh, that's up. It's like there's an added threat in there about it. And then if the dog goes to bite, quite frankly, it's the equivalent of a human where we've shouted and then we've followed through with the slap. So I think when you do open the doors of communication, for example, you know, for me, it would be things like if I was in the early days with brushing Finn, if he started to move his body away from me when I was brushing, I paused. I didn't pull him into me and go, we're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I paused and I was like, oh, is that feel a bit funny? Does that, and I would give him 10, 15, 20 seconds. And then when he stepped closer to me, I went, that's fine, that's you saying we're good to go again. And I think, you're right, when you open that communication, then you're hoping that you're like, please don't take advantage of my kindness.
Yeah.
Don't eat me.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a two-way conversation in grooming. And I do say to the dog, right, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, aye.
I'll actually say that to them. I hear what you're saying, but we still have to do that here. Let's try and find a way to get through it together.
Yeah, I think it is. It's about communication and compromise. It's like when we were talking about positive reinforcement. It's about you have your boundaries, and yes, sometimes there is things in life that no, we don't want to do, but we've got to do. But there's ways and means you can get around that. And I think when you are creating trust and building that with your dog, that doesn't mean you just let your dog do whatever they want and stuff like that. See, once you have a dog who trusts you, the possibilities of the stuff you can do together are endless.
Yeah.
And it's so lovely to see. Like, I absolutely adore at classes watching families come that I can see there's just a huge amount of trust. Like, those dogs are like, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth because you'll never let anything happen to me, whether it happens to them physically or it happens to them emotionally. Those dogs are like, you've got my back.
Yeah.
And you can do it. And that's what I was thinking about when I was just watching and working with some of the dogs at the rescue centre. I was just like, a lot of them, there's so much potential in them. They're just like so amazing.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, when they go to the new home, I hope that people understand about building trust and trying to create that for them and their dog.
Yeah.
Because it's a massive, massive thing.
Yeah. And also understanding that it's not a quick thing.
No, it's not.
Especially if they do have a history of trauma, emotional or physical trauma.
Well, this is it. And, going back to Dodger, I suspect, she's going to the other dogs because that's all she knew for 7 years.
Yeah.
That's a long history of dogs are not only...
Yeah, I've not been handled.
Yeah.
I've not been outside. I've just been with those other dogs specifically.
Exactly. I think, 7 years would be very hard to change. I think if maybe she'd only been exposed to that life for 6 months to a year, I dare say you could probably have created it so that...
Yeah. I mean, we did have a good relationship. Don't get me wrong.
No, that is.
On the odd occasion where the shit really hit the fan, she would choose them. Like, a really big thunderstorm or something like that.
Aye.
She would choose them over me every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny that, past experiences and all of that. But no, that was my food for thought for today.
No, that's good. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, trust. I was think it's a tricky one, but a goodie if you can get it.
It's so important and really the foundation of everything that you're going to be doing from then on.
Yeah, because the dog that trusts you ultimately will actually do more for you.
Yeah.
So
easier to train. Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be less problems. You'll have less problem behaviours that you don't like.
You get to actually enjoy your dog.
Yeah, and I think, for me, that's the first thing I work on over and above any form of training or behaviour or anything. I just spend the first few weeks together just creating trust, fun, making sure I'm consistent, making sure the dog feels emotionally safe, as well as keeping them physically safe and not put them in situations that actually this could go horribly wrong for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.